All right, guys, welcome back to another episode on the channel. This episode, we're going to go ahead and get the motor in, hopefully one of the final times. We've just been doing a little bit of wiring and some control for these ABS lines off camera. We went ahead and added down a new tie down that's much lower profile, added in some really nice high temp foam underneath of this, and then covered that all with aluminized fiberglass in a few areas where we know that the new exhaust header will be running nearby. So with that on there now, we should be good without any issues with the motor moving or just being too close to the actual header or to that alternator, I believe, that sits down on this corner. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is get the motor set in here. Again, hopefully for one of the final times, get the new mount that's been painted and the new mounts for the front engine all squared away. Once it's in there, we should be able to now start on the fluid lines, start routing those, see what kind of lengths, what kind of bends, any T's, etc. that we might need. Look a little bit at the AC lines, and then the big thing is all of this electrical, seeing how the existing loom runs, as well as how we can insert the F150 loom that we're modifying to be able to help control it with our ECM here from the F150. So that is the plan. Let's see how we can do it. All right, guys, we got the motor all situated. What we're gonna go ahead and do now is get the original NA intake and everything else onto the motor that we think we're gonna need right now, so we can start getting on coolant lines and the wiring harness and making sure everything fits and we can route it as it's needed. So we've already got some of the original F150 lines that came with our pull-out motor. So we're gonna go and get those on, see if we need to mix anything with the original Bronco. For instance, where the original overflow coolant tank is, how we can essentially connect the original F150 to that Bronco in the cleanest way possible, make everything look OEM, right? So that's the plan right now. Make sure everything passes around without any nicks or too bad of kinks on the coolant side. And then I know we're also going to be doing some modifications to the battery tray that sits right here. It clips just a little bit with the edge of the V8 right here, so we're going to probably be able to modify it just a little bit, and the battery itself will fit. We'll just have to modify that bracket. So that's the plan there. But yeah, get the alternator on there, get the AC unit and a bunch of this other stuff, and then we are working on the electrical. We have been pretty much in the background for a while now, doing electrical here and there, and we've got a couple of plans moving forward, so we're really excited to get into that. But for right now, we're gonna go and get that NA air intake in and a few other things and make sure we can get everything in that configuration set up. And then we will also be going to plan for the supercharger build as well, and make sure that we have the pulleys and everything we need to be able to swap that once we get all of the electronics sorted out in this NA configuration. So let's go and get to it. Guys, I just wanted to show you real quick. We're getting some of this stuff fixed up to be able to throw back on the DI injectors and ultimately that NA intake. And just to show you guys how well and how clean everything fits in here. So again, this is the 10R80 in the original tunnel. Plenty of space on both sides. These are the fuel lines right here going across. No issues of contact on any of this stuff. This wire right here is the shifter cable, and so it kind of comes around, and it's meant to be kind of in a weird angle because it's actually a physical metal cable that actuates the linkage there on the side of this 10R80. So we'll probably try and tie that one down. I think there's a stock tie down somewhere over here that I can get from the bottom of the car. But otherwise, it's just so perfect in here. I'm just always amazed to see how well this thing fits in the whole vehicle, how much space we have on either side up to the firewall while still being fully 3 inches back and able to throw everything that we need to in this guy. So anyway, just a quick side. All right, guys, we got a mess of tubes right now, but we are getting really close to getting all the lines sorted out for this Bronco. The really nice part is we're going to be able to reuse a lot of the OEM Bronco or F150 coolant hoses. That's pretty much what we're focusing on right now is coolant. We had a few of the other vacuums. We got one right here, for instance, going to the booster, reusing some parts. But for the coolant, we think we can reuse a lot of the same parts, with the exception of some of the long lines from the transmission that I'll show in a little while to the front here, and then some of these other interesting hoses going around to the heater core. But we're going to try and do our best to make sure everything looks as OEM as possible. There are some unique aspects to the hoses, like for instance this guy right here has a actually I think both of these guys have check valves in them. Definitely want to be able to retain that compared to just running a typical hose from where it would be to the overflow tank here. So a few of those, and then another peculiarity you'll see right here, this is our auxiliary pump. Basically for the trucks and for SUVs. I don't believe this is the case on the Mustangs. It has an auxiliary pump that before the actual thermostat opens on the mechanical fuel pump over here, this guy opens to be able to push warm water into the heater core to be able to get heat into the cabin earlier than if the thermostat hadn't been opened yet. So getting to this guy, getting the wiring there, that'll be a little bit of a trick. We've got to come across under here, make sure we don't get any belts caught, and then we also need to elongate our wire. This is the actual connector that we're going to use for that, so we're going to probably elongate these lines over to this pump and then get everything sorted out. And then let's see, this is the F150 hosing. We're going to try and use as much of this as we can. We've got a diverter piece right here that is actually going to be used for the transmission and the heater core, and so we're going to try and maintain that. This guy right here is the original F150 aux pump, so we probably don't need it, but we might use a hose from it. We got some more 3/4 lines. It's a lot of this stuff is 3/4 line and some other unique pieces in case we need to make essentially just some custom bits without you know, we don't have access to pre-molding, so we'll essentially be able to try and use some parts of a pre-molded line and then connect those together, at least on this first revision for it. And then we have a few other parts here. This is for the radiator lines. So the plan over here, we've got the two coolant inlet and outlet for the oil, one going in, one going out. These go up to one of this main feeds for the water pump here, this guy to this guy, you can see here. And so we're going to keep the original quick disconnect on the radiator side, and then we'll have essentially a 4-way splitter that goes into this guy and those two lines here. That's pretty much how the F-150 runs it. So nothing too different here. This guy, we'll probably swap it around, and it goes to the heater core and to that aux pump. And then this other main line here for the radiator goes right into this guy. But what we decided to do, it didn't come with our engine, but we got a F-150 version of this, so we're going to go ahead and put a union on this guy and make it so the other end is an exact fit here. It'll be covered by this sleeving anyway, so you won't even know. So hopefully everything will look really, really OEM. We've got some more sleeving and some more constant tension clamps coming to be able to make sure this thing runs really well, doesn't have any leaks or anything like that on the coolant side. So coolant, for the most part, is coming together for this swap. Otherwise, I think the vacuum lines are pretty much sorted out. We've got this PCV line over here. It's probably going to run into our air box in some manner. I still need to figure that one out. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, pretty much everything else is like I said, F-150 or Bronco, merging them together like we've done for most of the build here, and it's worked out really well. Just making sure, right, that like with the coolant flow here, that you're keeping track to how the fluid is actually running, so you don't have opposing fluid flows. That's really key. And you know, the actuation or any timing related to the cooling system is maintained between the vehicles. And really, since this is an F-150 motor, that's the system that we're taking dominance here for that. So yeah, let's go ahead and see how it works. We'll probably do a little bit off camera, a little bit what we can on time lapse, but hopefully this gives you guys an update on how the progress for the tubing and the coolant and everything else like that is going. All right, let's do it. right, guys, so we got some more hoses in, a couple of things from the parts store, and another F150 hose that we're going to try and mend to the Bronco hose for this main radiator to the coolant pump here. So let's go ahead and get started. We got that guy sorted out. This guy's coming along pretty well. We ended up making a bracket so that we can attach this guy. We need to make another piece for it though. This is that diverter for the heater core and the trans cooler. Pretty much all the lines run down to there, but I think we have pretty much everything we need to sort out the coolant hosing today. We'll probably end up putting some thermal sleeving and some snake skin on it later, but at least all of the tubes will be cut and mended in a way that they will be able to function. So let's go ahead and get it knocked out. All right, guys, so we think we got everything roughly routed right now, but in order to finish connecting and get some links correctly for our diverter, we're gonna go ahead and take back off the front clip and radiator so we have better access to that. But we also need to throw on the AC compressor and make sure that the lines that we're routing for the coolant are gonna be able to pass around, that there's any other interference issues right in that corner. A lot going on over here because of all the different coolant routes, but it's looking pretty good so far. Like I said, we'll get some snake skin on this. Down the line, we might end up just getting some custom pipes made, but at least for these first starts, especially since we're changing from NA to a supercharged later, hopefully we won't have to make any adjustments to the routing for this coolant. But if we do, we'll probably just end up getting some custom hoses made with these nice OEM style fittings like we have here, and some constant tension clamps. So anyway, we're gonna go and get this guy off and get the remaining trans cooler lines and that AC compressor in there. So let's do it.
All right, we're done for the night. Halloween's over. Jarrett wants to go home. He's kind of tired. He's measuring things on the Bronco.
Yep.
Oh, wow, cool. John's happy it's Halloween, but Halloween's over. I got this cool new piece for the Z, and this beautiful 4-point roll cage from AGI. Ooh, that would be real cool.
You ruined it.
Nice. Cool. I'm happy with those. But we're done, YouTube. We are tired. We're going to go home, go sleep, and we will be back later.